5:29 p.m. City Council meeting will be starting here in about 5 to 10 seconds. We'll go right to it as soon as it does. Again, tonight is a very important meeting. Many of them are, but tonight they will be talking about enacting an ordinance for those that are unhoused and the camping, if you will, down on MLK and I would assume maybe some other areas also. So again, this should be starting momentarily. Let me see if I can do this for you. If you would like to make public comment tonight, I'm going to go ahead and put the Zoom link in the chat for you. Obviously, you are more than happy to watch along with us here on the conduit, because I will likely be making public comment this evening. But if you yourself want to make public comment, this is where you do that.
All right, first up for tonight, we have the mayor's report. Welcome, Mayor Wheeler.
All right. Good evening, Council President, councilors, and members of the audience. It's good to see everybody. So just have a couple items I want to share with you, and I know you have a busy agenda this evening. Go with the first slide. Thank you, Dave. So just an update. We're in the process of increasing internal efficiencies, as you can see on the main heading there. This is specifically in the HR division, and this has been a fairly substantial technology upgrade. And mainly for this slide, and for the purpose of this slide, onboarding or pre-boarding, onboarding, offboarding has been made more efficient with this. And what this is allowing us to do is create electronic files, provide access to all of our. It's just streamlined our process quite a bit, and it's all working towards the goal of being paperless. As you can see down there towards the bottom, 100% of new employees are immediately entered into this new program, and we're going back through the existing employees slowly but surely. We're at 25% right now with the goal of 100%. So next slide, please. And this is just a little bit more of how this is going to benefit our employees. It's everybody will have access to their personal file. If you've ever, as we've all been in the workforce before, to have that convenience is really important. And this is a way for us to send out paper, when I say paper, but electronic files, checklists, surveys, new information. This is a good way for us to distribute that through this portal. And right now, it's exciting. And it's create efficiencies for our not only our staff, but everybody working for the city. And next slide, please. And last but not least, it centralizes all of the information. And so, as I mentioned before, whenever a new program is initiated, trainings that are coming online, just new updates, this is how we can track and get to our folks much quicker. Just a little update on what HR, Human Resources Division, all the hardworking staff there have been working on. All right, next slide, please. So rideshare and van pool. We talk about all of us have the goal to be as efficient as possible with what we have, the resources we have. Parking is a resource. And so many of you probably may not have been aware, but the city does sponsor and initiate efforts to increase ride shares and van pools. So we do that. It's part of this initiative, this parking initiative that we've undertaken. As you can see up there, we've increased our ride shares. We've increased van pools. We communicate this with the Navy. The Navy is very interested. They're a partner in this. They include it in their onboarding packages and create, they show these opportunities to their new employees. This is available for any worker. So the Kitsap Transit is the sponsors of this. Kitsap Transit comes here to City Hall also. So our workers here in the city are aware of this opportunity. As you can see, it's a great efficient use of limited parking space when you can put 8 folks into a van that might otherwise take 8 parking spots. You can see how that can benefit our city. All right, next slide, please. So the creative district update, this is some great news. Application submitted on June 22nd, now being reviewed by the Washington State Arts Commission. They have 60 days to get back to us. I really want to thank all of the partners that were involved in putting this together. This was a lot of hard work. Greater Kitsap Chamber is going to be a sponsor in helping to administer this program. But really, the effort goes into folks like our arts commissioners and all of folks who care deeply about the arts in our community, coming together as a community to make this a priority. So that concludes my report tonight, Council. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mayor Wheeler, for an efficient and creative report. All right, next up, we'll go to the consent agenda.
Thank you, President Coughlin. For approval on the consent agenda are the following items. A, claims and check register. 1, check numbers 403326 through 403497, and EFT numbers V37727 through V37820, in the grand total amount of $2,035,555.18. B, minutes of meeting June 21st, 2023. C, minutes of study session June 28th, 2023. D, retirement plan advisory and consulting agreements with Decision Point Financial LLC and Spectrum Pension Consultants, Inc. as additional administrators of the City of Bremerton, amended and restated 457B Supplemental Retirement Program Plan. E, award local agency contract with Active Construction, Inc. for the Washington Avenue and 11th Street Roundabout project. F, budget adjustment for the Pine Road Basin Stormwater Improvements Project. G, resolution number 3360 to adopt the City of Bremerton 2020 Water System Plan. H, resolution number 3361 to establish water use efficiency goal for the City of Bremerton Water Utility. I, goods and services agreement with North Coast for the purchase of 3 variable frequency drives for lift station CW1. J, technical rescue mutual aid interlocal agreement. And K, intergovernmental agreement for emergency management assistance compact and Pacific Northwest emergency management arrangement. This concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
Well, thank you. Does any member of the public wish to comment on any one of these items? You can either come to the podium or raise your hand online. And again, specifically one of these consent agenda items. Seeing no one in the room, any hands online? All right, seeing no hand online, we'll go to the council for a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I call for the question.
Councilmember Chamberlain? Yes. Fry?
Yes.
Dennehy?
Hudson.
Goodnow?
Yes.
Mochler?
Yes.
Younger?
Yes.
Coughlin?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is public recognition.
All right, as noted on the agenda, public recognition provides an opportunity for attendees to address the council on any city-related item that's not already listed on tonight's agenda. Also a reminder that now that it's election season, please refrain from any comments on political campaigns or ballot measures. If you have a public recognition comment, please either line up at the podium or participating by Zoom, raise your hand and wait to be recognized. We just ask that you state your name for use in the record, volunteer whether you live or work in Bremerton, and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, and we'll have a timer system to use everyone's computer equally. If you're at the podium, there's a little yellow and red light that'll come on to tell you when you're getting close, and cut you off right at 3 minutes, not personal. You've got to treat everyone equally. And just a reminder, if you're here to talk about either waste management or the proposed ordinance to amend the unauthorized camping, that'll come later. So anything else, though, this is the time. But that'll open up public recognition. Please go ahead.
Jane Novolowski, I live in Bremerton. I was pretty disheartened to hear the manager of our downtown library describe how needed the services were in there, and they're going to be closed to the public. And I would like to propose using some of the $10,000 that council gave to the administration to support some portable toilets and hand washing station right at the library for now, and hopefully find a better, more permanent place. But we need some place for people to have a little dignity in this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public recognition? Either one. I'll call on you first, sir. Dr.
My name is Victor Davis from Bremerton. I'm a board member for Mary Apostolic Church here in Bremerton. Our late pastor, Bishop Lawrence Robinson, who's the chair and head of the Marvel Williams Center and the EAC Church. And as a board member, and since he's passed and deceased, I have concerns about the continuing vandalism to 803 Martin Luther King Way, 802, I'm sorry. And we just had this Sunday, we had one of the windows broken out. It's the second time it happened, broken out. And also, human feces were left outside of the window that was broken out. So I know y'all been doing a good job, council, but I'd like something to be done about the homelessness around that area. We got a lot of drugs, a lot of violent people down there, and it's just unsafe. We got youth attends the academy there at the Marvel Williams Center, also at our church on Sundays and Wednesdays. We have the gym open for youth, and it's just an unsafe area right now. And I don't know how we're going to handle that, but something needs to be done so we can feel safe, our kids can feel safe, and we as I am as a board member really want to bring this up to your guys' attention because I think something needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please go ahead in the room.
Mary Lou Long, longtime resident of Bremerton. Once again, I'm here to support the flag as the opening ceremony for all of our public meetings. I hope you all had a very happy 4th of July to celebrate our 247th birthday of our nation. And with that, I'd like to invite anyone with the patriotism and the feeling in their heart of all those people that the flag represents that put this nation into effect, which gives you the privilege and me the privilege of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and hopefully we all have justice and peace. And with that, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know how long it will take, but I'm going to continue with this pledge that I made to myself and to my flag and to my country to encourage our council to show respect to the flag and to the nation. It was great to have a celebration yesterday with fireworks and family get-togethers, but we need to display our patriotism on a daily basis. I'm also glad to see that there are more people coming to City Council and expressing their points of view and their needs to the council, because the council and the city government has operated in a bit of a vacuum, especially during COVID with Zoom meetings. So now we can get together and we can express our feelings and we can share our ideas. And thank you very much, Jane Rupkowski, for supporting the idea of having a restroom and facility outside the library, which I mentioned at the last presentation, because that's important to think about our poor underprivileged citizens and their dignity. And if they were using the library facilities for bathroom or restroom facilities, then we should provide that for them while it's closed. So I hope you take that into strong consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone online with their hands raised? Okay, I'm going last time to the room here. Yes.
Good afternoon, and I'd like to just acknowledge our city council members as well as our mayor. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'd also like to read the land acknowledgement for our Squamish tribe and the land that we stand on here. Every part of this soil is sacred in the estimation of my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove have been hollowed by some or sad or happy event and long vanished. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is within the ancestral territory of the Suquabs, people of the clear salt water, the Suquamish people, expert fishermen, canoe builders, basket weavers. The Suquabs live in harmony with the lands and the waterways along Washington's central Sailor Sea, as they have for thousands of years. Here, the Suquabs live and protect the land and the waters of their ancestors and future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855. With that being said, we are also here to talk about public health and safety concerns. Here on MLK Way, the homeless, we know that the missions were serving them at that time, and the Salvation Army as well. And those services have now dissipated and gone away. And now we have a public health concern with those that are there. We're dealing with meth, fentanyl, drug and alcohol abuse there, as well as the biohealth concerns of human waste, the violence and mental health issues, the vandalism to property, the concerns that we have. I say we have to begin to work collectively on how we're going to move forward. We're serving our underserved population, our homeless population that's there, and we have not come up with intentional ways that we will address the concerns of the citizens, those that have property there, the business owners, as well as the citizens and those that are being served there. We have children, their public safety is at concern here. And so as we move forward, how do we begin to have the conversations that's needed so that we can be able to say we can come up with solutions that would help to resolve or eliminate these issues just for them to be dumped there and left there? That is not acceptable. That's unacceptable. And as city officials and leaders, we have to be able to address the issues. And we can do it collectively. But just to be able to tuck it under the rug is not a way to go. We have to do better.
Thank you. Okay, keep going in the room here.
I own a home avenue. And I see some of my neighbors here and fellow football coaches here. And I live right across the street from the Marvin Williams Rec Center. A beautiful building, but I can't look at it. Every time I go out on my front porch, I'm threatened, I'm harassed. I breathe in plumes of meth smoke, fentanyl smoke. I can't let my children play outside. I have to comb the yard before I can let them out, before I can let my animals out. I find feces, syringes, crack pipes, spoons. I have garbage just dumped on my front steps for no reason. I see people walk by with weapons, machetes, hammers, hatchets. What am I supposed to say to them? I talk to many of the police officers around this town, and they say they feel impotent and neutered by the directives given to them by their superiors. Pay $200 a week to have my kids at the Marvin Williams Rec Center, and they're not even allowed to go outside. I have had a lawnmower stolen right out. I I was using my lawnmower the other day, and I went down to my basement to get the gas can. Maybe 45 seconds of leaving it unattended. It's being wheeled down to them. Okay. I've had people in my yard take tools. I've had my daughter's bicycle stolen in broad daylight. I had somebody just knock down my front fence to take a toy skateboard for my 5-year-old son. I've been physically assaulted numerous times. My daughter was almost sexually assaulted. Thank God I was there for that. Just walking her dog back from the park. I know we're not here to talk about the ballot or the proposition of raising property taxes, but why should I pay more property taxes when my property value is plummeting? We all love this town, and I'm pretty sure we all agree that homelessness is not a crime, but a crime is still a crime. And I should be allowed to walk my dog. I should be allowed to have my children play in the yard of the home that I've worked my life to buy. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, a reminder specifically for the camping ordinance, that'll be item B2, but of course other non-related comments are welcome. So yes, please go ahead.
We do have comments about the camping ordinance.
Yeah, if it's about the camping ordinance itself, then yeah, please, thank you. All right. Anyone else online, Dave? Let's go one last time. Yes, we have one person. All right, please go ahead.
Greetings, my name is Ron Owen, from the City Council. I'm here to inform the City Council that in an instrument that I filed with the Kitsap County Auditor last September, it effectively created a federal land patent area, which is ID the West Columbia District. And this is allowed under Article 26, second ordinance of the Washington State Constitution. Currently, this is under court attack at the Bremerton Municipal Court in a proceeding case 51194801. And currently, after 3.5 years of litigation, the city has failed to pass the jurisdiction which is established. So, with this particular picture, I'd like to lay out my particular vision of this area. And this area would be set aside as a federal district, akin to the federal district of Columbia back in the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. This is necessary because the city finds itself centered in a geopolitical and economic position of no other city in the United States. We have the only deep water port that capable of pulling every aircraft carrier in the naval fleet. And with the upcoming conflicts in the South China Sea, which many of you may have followed, and I encourage you to follow this, it appears that there may be collateral damage, which would bring attention straight to the city of Bremerton, because we would be the port facility to fix these vessels. And in addition, this is fairly inevitable because our currency of the United States is not a gold or silver-backed currency. It's based on insurance. The dollar sign consists of letter I and S, which stands for insurance script. And because it is exponential in growth, for those of you who have calculus in high school or college, it means that at this point, the debt is going exponential. And so therefore, the need for insurance becomes exponential. And this is essentially behind the conflict. This will bring attention to the city of Bremerton. It will also create a need for a separate federal judiciary here. And I am currently in negotiation with the Civil Attorney's Division upstairs on the 6th floor to have them move this out of the criminal realm into the civil realm so that administrative hearings can be held on this matter. It would involve federal monies that could be used to split off Kitsap County effectively from the rest of the
15 seconds.
the federal district that's currently located in Seattle. So, with that, I really want to see any additional funding. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. As for public recognition, yes, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, and just want to acknowledge the respect we have for the city council, the mayor, and everybody here, our community. I just want to say, have family that we attend, also Latino families who want to come to our events that we have there at the Marvin Center, and I have received phone calls that not wanting to come because the problem right now with the community, homelessness community, facing mental health, so they're really afraid to come and bring their kids to the Marvin Center. I please ask you to take in consideration bringing solutions for us to have a better town, safe for the communities, and bringing more business, because it's right here in the center of Bremerton that we would like to have also more tourists to come and appreciate the beautiful town and bring money to our city. So really been asking, I wanted to go there, but I saw a lot of trash over there. I've been dedicating to support with my team with cleaning downtown streets, just picking up trash. But again, that is a huge concern that I think we can do something in collaboration, agencies, and I know that we are ready to support. But yes, the Marvin Williams Center, we need to address that because upcoming events, and I want to make sure our community come and benefit from the programs that they are offering there, and I'm in partnership with them bringing some projects, and I would like to see the support. Thank you, and a wonderful day and happy 4th of July.
Thank you. Looks like we'll go online. Sorry, I can't see the name yet, but there we go. More on camera. Yes, please go ahead for public recognition.
Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, City Council and Mayor. I actually have a different perspective here on this issue that many people are speaking on tonight. I think, and my ask of you is to please center the most vulnerable in our community. We have a lot of folks that are being negatively impacted. However, those that are experiencing homelessness are the most impacted. And some of those that are unhoused are also being victimized by other people that are out there preying on them. What are we going to do? I would like to see us shift to a solution conversation and not what we can't do or what needs to happen. If we are to pick up every unhoused person.
Related subject, but just to keep comments, to save any comments on the proposed camping ordinance to later.
Sure. This has nothing to do with the ordinance per se. All I was saying was, if we were to pick up and move everyone to a different location, what does that do to other folks? It would just be the same thing. So we really need to be pioneers, figure out what we're going to do to put an end to the unhoused situation here in Kitsap County, in Bremerton. I believe that we can do that. We have a lot of folks, a lot of different people that are coming to the table, that are here speaking out. And I think if we all shift our focus and roll in the same direction, we can find a permanent solution to help the most vulnerable in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public recognition that hasn't taken a turn? All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public recognition. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, please go ahead.
Joe Walter. I feel like the hear that we are all coming from the same place, wanting health and happiness for everybody. And I get anxious when I hear people saying, protect the Marvin Williams Center's clientele, children. Of course, we love children. And as I'm looking at the people who are saying that, I know it doesn't mean that we don't care about the people who are creating problems there. So we're all standing here saying, do something, do something, do something, and we don't really have the answers. And I know you want the answers too. And I get to a place where I'm just disheartened by the whole thing and I want to give it up. But I am re-inspired at more and more people coming forward who don't have the answers, but who are saying that we can't put under the rug, we can't ignore it. It is a hard challenge that we need to take on and not let it be pushed aside. I also want to support Jane's suggestion about how to use $10,000. We had the same thought, and when Lisa mentioned it 2 weeks ago, before I left the room, I said, "Hey, how about we put those porta potties on the site?" So I hope that can be made to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep the microphone off.
I have a quick question for IT. Are you noticing the static on the microphone? Okay.
I think it's okay, yeah. But we gotta keep an eye on it. All right, yes, please go ahead, continue public recognition.
Hi there, Dave Cooper. I just want to address something that you folks voted on the last public session, and that was on the fireworks. And I talked to John Miller, who puts on our wonderful Bridge Blast fireworks, and I refer to him often as Mr. Fireworks because of what he does with Boomtown fireworks and sales. He was not informed that was even for public or for a vote on that. And I thought, well, how sad it is that the input that you folks received was from basically the fire chief, and that was it. And I'd like to have it be reconsidered again and at least put it out in some fashion for the public to actually have input on what they have. Because what you heard from this a very small minority, if you will, versus all the people that really enjoy the other factors that was voted out. So thank you for your time. And we're talking later about stuff, right?
All right, thank you. Yes, public recognition will keep going in the room.
Yes, you brought up the fireworks, and I think I'm here for last night. So I think we have a great fireworks on the bridge, and it's a great bridge blast. It's super. But last night I went to last night stayed home, and I was absolutely shocked at my neighborhood. I live up from the Marvin Williams on 8th, and from all sides I saw these fireworks that were embracing the trees. They were out on 8th Avenue shooting up. They were coming from 3 different directions, right on down into my backyard. And I thought, wow, I'm glad I stayed home. And I thought, when is that something that is going to stop? I mean, it was probably this year. People had said last year was the one. This year, for me, this was it. It's just enough. I mean, I stayed home just for that reason, because I've come down in the past and I've seen it. And in the front, it was, they were shooting them off at my house, but this time it was different. It was just, they were huge, and I have pictures of the tree above looking at it, and they were just, I mean, it looked beautiful, but I thought just one little spark, and then my roofs and all covered with debris this morning. And then of course the debris on the street, it just sits there, nobody cleans it up. And so anyway, that's what I'd like to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last call for public recognition. Dave's gonna work on the microphone. And I think, yeah, definitely, works best to make sure it's adjusted, towards your face and, you're able to speak directly into it, but we might swap out here. Just wanna make sure I'm not missing anyone else online before I close public recognition. Update check. Oh, yes, okay. Christy Lightson, please go ahead for public recognition.
Thank you, appreciate that. I wanted to, put in another support of Jane's idea about, toilet facilities, portable toilets, at the library, while the library is closed, to provide, we can use that $10,000 that we have for that purpose, to get some facilities downtown for our unhoused folks and just the general public to use, because there aren't really a lot of public toilets downtown. Also, I wanted to thank, I didn't get the woman's name, she was about the second person to speak, I think, who did the land acknowledgement. I really appreciated that, and that was a lovely land acknowledgement. I also wanted to recognize Black and other people of color who have suffered trauma over centuries from colonization, colonialism, and racism that there's been no reparations for. Thank you.
Thank you. Online? All right, seeing no one else online and no one else in the room, I'll go ahead and close public recognition and we'll move on to general business.
General business item 6A, Waste Management 2023 Public Education and Outreach Program. Our presenter tonight is Contracts Administrator Melinda Monroe.
Welcome, Ms. Monroe.
Good evening and welcome, Council. I also have with me tonight, joining online, Laura Moser, Waste Management, the Coordinator, and Sophie Nanjianovich, the Public Education Outreach Coordinator. And so we'll have them present here momentarily. I just wanted to remind you of the slight change we made to the packet. It's just to item slide 7, and we'll be giving a little more detail on that, but it's a pretty minor change. And this is essentially the same presentation, but for the public this evening, and we'll be happy to take more questions. So with that, we're going to bring up Laura and Brianna here.
And would you like me to share the screen? My screen, Melinda?
Sure. If you want to go ahead and do that, and you have it ready in any ways if needed. So.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Laura Moser. I am the Public Sector Services Manager for WM and your point of contact with the contract. With me this evening is Rianne Janovich. She's our Public Education Outreach Coordinator. And we really appreciate the opportunity to present to you again this evening. So the slide I'm sharing with you is really about our 2022, some of our 2022 highlights. And the gentleman in the upper right-hand corner is Brian Lloyd. He's our new district manager, just recently came to our Bremerton facility at the beginning of this year, was previously in our safety department, and we're very excited to have him working with our team. We've seen a lot of improvements in our services in the area. Also, WM is a proud supporter of the Bremerton community and contributed more than $4,800 through different memberships, sponsorships, and in-kind services to different organizations. This slide shows what the waste stream looked like in 2022 by each of what we call sectors, residential, multifamily, and commercial. And there is a diversion rate, meaning the total percentage of materials that was not taken to a landfill. And residentially, we were at 34.4% in 2022, which was actually a slight decrease, less than 2% year over year, 2021 and 2022. We also had a slight decrease for both multifamily and commercial, both under 2%. I'm going to let Rianne take over as public education coordinator and talk about some of the great work that she has done in the community.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you to the City Council and Melinda for allowing us the opportunity to present to you and the community today. So yes, my name is Rianne Janovich. I am the outreach coordinator for Kitsap County, and we work very closely with Bremerton. Each summer, we have a wonderful series of events or community outreach, in addition to some other outreach through the year. So this is just a recap of 2022, and I'll also go into our 2023 plan. But on this slide here, you'll see that I am standing in the Kitsap Regional Library. This year, one of my favorite events was to host two versions of recycling education presentations. This first one, or this pictured one, is called The Story of Recycling. I partnered with the Kitsap Regional Library to educate the community of younglings about recycling, what happens to well-loved books based on an actual storybook. This was a really fantastic opportunity to see people in person and essentially just kind of go beyond what typical recycling is. It can look like many things. We also touched on upcycling. So this was a great event. We also had a virtual material recovery facility tour that was specifically for Bremerton. We also provide these tours online quarterly. So if anyone is curious to see what the inside of a recycling facility looks like, you're always welcome to visit wmnorthwest.com/Bremerton. They're free programs, and they're very educational. So our goal is to inspire community to understand the recycling process, to demystify it, but also get an inside look at what these material projects turn into and what resources we protect in supporting sustainability. So those are my, that's a couple things. On the next slide, I have...
Oops, sorry, my mouse is acting up on me.
I know I'm also having computer issues.
All day. So sorry, you keep talking and I will try to get there.
Sure. There we are. So we also participated in the Bremerton Farmers Market. Pictured is Mayor Wheeler. It was a pleasure to meet you in person and show you some of the fun outreach we can do in the communities. We had one-on-one conversations with some interested community about recycling and composting benefits. We gave away some fun prizes that were educational, and I met this really stellar super recycler pictured with their dog, and they schooled me on everything. They were ready to teach me a lot about how they recycle, what they recycle, and it was very meaningful to get time to be there. In the next couple of slides, you'll learn we're also coming to another event this summer with the Farmers Market. And on the next slide, we also do our annual cart tagging campaign. Last year, we focused on providing education for how to recycle right for residents. Nobody was in trouble if you were one of the people who received this cart tag. This is just an educational opportunity for everyone. Everyone got this kind of cart tag. And WM has researched and demonstrated the positive impact of attaching educational messaging to residential cart tags as an effective strategy to change recycling behavior. And in summer 2022 and sometime over the fall as well, we were able to deliver 2,000 cart tags to residential homes to educate Bremerton residents about recycling right, because recycling the correct way allows more of these processes or more of these materials to be processed correctly. And that, of course, saves our natural resources. So that was a little recap of what we did for 2022. And on the next slide, we have our proposed education for 2023. So first, we have our in-person education session for the government building and local business groups at the Norm Dix building. We are going to or do some live sorting of recycling, talk about resource conservation, contamination prevention. This building houses not only the council, but local businesses and groups that are very large in the community. So we're looking forward to getting out and discussing this with a group of interns, just to promote recycling practices, resources, and again, demystify recycling in a variety of ways. Not on the slide, but in addition, we will also be connecting with the Center of Commerce, I believe.
Chamber of Commerce.
Sorry, Chamber of Commerce, thank you, baby. The Chamber of Commerce to do a very similar presentation about recycling, composting, waste reduction, to inspire businesses to handle these practices and get more involved with their waste. I know it's something that we all just toss away, but it does have a life, many lives beyond it. So we're looking forward to connecting with businesses and leaders in this community to give them some one-on-one education. So our next project is cart tagging again. Oh, sorry, same slide. The next project is what you'll see on the screen here is our cart tagging project with Recycle Corps interns. You will see many people dressed like me walking around in the community with safety vests who will be tagging your residential carts with composting benefits. This is a mock-up of one of our designs. It has changed just a little bit, just with one of the QR codes down there, but we're trying to inspire people to close the loop by composting and signing up for yard and food waste, as it is an incredible benefit to not only the air by mitigating methane, but also to the soil as a fabulous amendment. So we have a very cute cart tag coming to you this summer in the next couple of weeks. And we're targeting 2,000 residential homes. So if you do see it, I'm one of the people who designed the cart tag. If you like it, please let us know. And then on the slide, the last thing is we will have farmers markets in July. We'll be there July, I believe, the 13th. And we will have another educational booth focusing on compost and recycling benefits, contamination reduction, waste reduction, and fun interactive games. We would love to see you there. And if you have any questions about the recycling process, the composting process in Kitsap County, I'm your person. You can always reach out to me, my interns who will be there, or visit us on our website, wmnorthwest.com/Bremerton. So that is our plan for the 2023 summer into fall outreach. And on the final slide, I believe I will pass that back to you, Laura.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention last year, November 2022, on America Recycle Days, WM announced plans to invest $56 million to advance our recycling technology at 3 material recovery facilities, also known as MRFs, servicing our communities across Washington and into northern Idaho. We are in the process of rebuilding our Woodinville facility called CRC. It was totally shut down and all of its equipment is being updated. And then our JMK facility, which is where the city of Bremerton material goes to in Tacoma, is not shut down, but is taking all of the material that CRC would normally handle, and they are processing. There were a lot of upgrades that were done at that facility and some additional ones with really cool, optical sorters and just more equipment that really helps pull out contaminants so that materials are ready for market. We'd like to manage our network of recycle facilities. It gives us a lot of backup. Like I said, in the CRC shutdown, JMK can take care, and our other facility is located in Spokane. Also, I think Rianne mentioned this earlier, we do offer virtual recycle center tours. We used to do them in person prior to COVID, but had to stop that practice and have found the virtual tours are a really great way to get people involved that don't want to travel very far. And our next one is coming up July 28th. I apologize, this is an old picture on here. So we had one on April 28th. Anybody can attend. You just go to our website again and sign up, and you can join that great tour. And with that, I will say thank you. We really do appreciate your time this evening, and I am always available to meet with you individually if you would like to learn more about what we're doing in your community, or you have other questions about the services we provide.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both. And I just wanted to bring up one other point to your memory. Several months ago, we entered into a new interlocal with BKAT County, and we are in process of creating a new solid waste hazardous management plan. And that plan will be offered by consultants with the Department of Ecology, with our public health district, with our local solid waste advisory committee members, and give us insight into changes that we should make in the future, how we should plan for the future. And I'm sure there will be both near-term and short-term options that will come out of that plan. And that we're currently operating at the very end of our last 5-year plan. So I just wanted to bring that to your memory. And then also that this presentation we've done annually, and it's been wonderful to have a little insight, just a little bit into the world of solid waste here. And this is part of our current franchise agreement that they do this for us. So just want to bring those 2 points to you. And with that, do you have any questions?
Thank you for the update and for recycling that presentation for public consumption. I know, couldn't resist. All right, let me ask if any member of the public wishes to comment on this item. Yes, please go up to the podium or raise your hand on Zoom.
Thank you for the wonderful project and the amazing job you guys doing with the organization.
Excuse me. Please state your name.
My name is Martita May. I'm the leader of the Latino community, founder of Kids Up Immigrant Assistance Center, Kids Up Mesa Redonda, and Kids Up Immigrant Advocating for Immigrant Rights and Equality. So my concern is, and I would like to request, I would like to see the website, waste management, and translated in multiple languages, as well as materials. Do you have materials in multiple languages, and Spanish is the second language spoken in the country? So I would like to see that piece of education materials and materials, please.
Yeah, to respond, we do have translated materials on our website, and we also have them in physical forms. We have an English and Spanish double-sided flyer that we give to local businesses, multifamily, or no, sorry, we provide them for local businesses, multifamily. They're all on our website. We also have a new feature on our website. It's not very new, but we do have a translator from Google. So if you are able to locate at the top of your web page, you can click in any language that is translated by Google.
Thank you. I was looking, so I'm gonna look up.
And it's
Thank you.
kind of a back and forth, but yeah. They're welcome to reach out and have a conversation over there. Sorry. Anyone else for public comment on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll go to the council for a motion. Yes, Councilmember Motley.
Sorry to cough so loudly. I beg your pardon. Move to approve the 2023 Waste Management Public Outreach Program as presented. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We're open for discussion. Councilor Motley, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Waste Management representatives Laura Moser and Rihanna. Shoot, I'm gonna mess up your last name, Jovovich. Okay. This public outreach doesn't seem to match what my constituents and other people in Bremerton are looking to hear from Waste Management. For example, most customers of Waste Management don't know that you can
give back your yard waste container at the end of the
So,
season.
sorry, Councilman Mochler, as the maker of a motion, you can't argue against it. Just wanna remind you
Really?
of that. Good, yes,
Can I unmake?
not at this point, I believe I'll look to our, city clerk.
You can withdraw your motion.
I withdraw my motion.
All right, I'll go to the council and see if anyone else wants to make a motion. Yes, go ahead,
I
Councilman Frye.
move to approve the 2023 Waste Management Public Outreach Program as presented.
I'll second. All right, we have a new motion and a second. We'll go open for discussion, and Councilmember Frye, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking, I think, for more focus on multifamily and commercial. The statistics are dismal. But overall, you know what, proactive education, I think is one of the best things that we can do, and it also brings our community together. Having said that, I think we all saw that the multifamily rates, which is apartments, condos, and I want an answer to that. But besides that, I want to thank Waste Management, and perhaps there is more focus on multifamily, and they could respond.
We're good now, the floor is yours if you wish.
Thank you for the presentation. I think it's definitely a challenge to get everything right, and I assume that what the waste management team has done is put together something that they're able to execute. But I know there's a few suggestions, and I don't know if those are can be incorporated this year or in future years. But anyways, I think that any amount of education is good, and I'd like to see us get those numbers up. But these are the experts on training communities, and this is a benefit of our contract, and I think they've done a good job. Thank you.
Councilmember Younger? Oh, so sorry, your mic was on. Any other council members for comment or questions? Councilmember Mochler?
I'm going to argue against this. I'm sorry, I did know that and I had forgotten. Here's what Waste Management is doing, and while, hey, it is absolutely great that they are doing outreach. But there is no, as we learned during the study session, there is no difficulty with the waste stream coming from Norm Dix. It's people are sorting and all is well. The farmers market is a population that is very well educated and very concerned about recycling, reducing, and reusing. The tagging of the carts, we were told was very effective in Spokane, but last year we were told that it was statistically insignificant. I think that Waste Management's outreach should actually reach out to people and say, what are your concerns about waste management? If you're putting cart tags on 2,000 carts, you can knock on 1,000 doors and say, how can we do better? That would be effective outreach. It would give people information, and it would make them feel, in my experience, most people who talk to me about waste management feel powerless. It would empower people, and it might even reduce their bills, and it might well help the people at the waste management call center who would be getting fewer complaints. I think we should reject the 2023 Waste Management Public Outreach Program as presented, and urge Waste Management to return in the near future with a program that better answers the needs of waste management customers here in Bremerton. Thank you.
Sorry that I missed your first comment, Councilor Mochler.
I'm reminded to address comments too.
Sorry about that. And I wanted to kind of like relay a couple of educated and informed about recycling concern. I'm pretty ignorant about a lot of other things, but I feel like that's one thing that I continue to strive to learn about. But I've had some personal, like disconnects with the education myself. One of the things, for instance, is I used to be told, you put all your recyclables outside next to the recycling bin, and they'll still pick them up. And just recently, I noticed that, there's a lot of trash to pick up, but that my recyclables that I was putting outside of my bin were being thrown in the garbage. From time to time, there are recyclables that are put on the list and taken off the list. Even looking at the list, another time I talked to my recyclable, somebody who works in recycling of the trucks, they thought one thing belonged on, and they're like, oh, I guess that's not on the list anymore. So there's constant changes, and it would be nice to know, even as a somewhat educated person on this issue, that I'm still having disconnects. And so I just wanted to relay that information as we consider this plan, because I think with all the changes in recyclables, that's a big deal, that we become educated on that as individuals.
Council members for comment or question? Hearing none, I'll just wrap up and thank again for the presentation. I know no outreach plan is ever perfect, but this comes before us every year, and we have a chance to iterate on it. So I think I see personally some great things in here. I think we could always improve year after year, but to me this looks acceptable for approval. So I will go ahead and call it for the question.
Councilmember Bignow,
Yes.
Mochler,
No.
Younger,
Yes.
Chamberlain,
Yes.
Fry, Coughlin.
Yes.
Motion carries, 5 yeses, 1 no. Next on the agenda is general business item 6B, proposed ordinance to amend BMC chapter 9.32 entitled Unauthorized Camping. This is for information only, and our presenter tonight is City Attorney Kylie Film.
Good evening. I'm going to face all of you from over here instead of having my back to you while I'm speaking. And so what I've prepared tonight is a slide presentation, but there's also information in the council packet. What you see in the council packet are 3 ordinances, one from the city of Lakewood, one from the city of Longview, one from Portland, Oregon. And then there's a 4th item, which is the MRSC and AWC homelessness and housing toolkit for cities. So those are in the packet. It's available online. You can go to it right now on your phone, or you could look at it before the meeting. That's what's posted. Those were also the materials that were discussed in study session last week with the council members. And so I haven't added anything to those materials since last week if you followed along then. So, but tonight I do have a slide presentation, which I didn't have last week. So next slide, please. So why is action necessary? Ninth Circuit decisions. So the Ninth Circuit is the Court of Appeals circuit that we are in as a city in the state of Washington. And they've made some rulings in cases involving municipalities enforcing their anti-camping ordinances against community members. And their ruling was that it was unconstitutional for the cities to enforce ordinances prohibiting camping in public places against people experiencing homelessness when no shelter space was available. The first case to come out was in 2018. That was Martin v. City of Boise. And another case came out at the end of 2022, and that was Johnson v. City of Grants Pass. Next slide, please. So there were some exceptions to the court's decisions. It wasn't a blanket prohibition. The court noted some exceptions. One, that individuals who chose not to utilize their access to temporary shelter would not be subject, they could be subject to the city's ordinance prohibiting camping. Additionally, even when shelter is unavailable, an ordinance may prohibit sitting, lying, or sleeping outside during specified designated times or at specified locations. Additionally, the ordinance can prohibit the obstruction of right-of-ways or the erection of certain types of structures. So what do we have right now? So, the city's camping ordinance is found in the Bremerton Municipal Code. You can all read this online. It's, just Google Bremerton Municipal Code, pops up. Go to chapter 9.32 and you'll see our unauthorized camping, code section. Right now, our camping, code prohibits camping on public property within the city of Bremerton at any time. So there's no exceptions and there's no time restrictions on that prohibition. Okay. And so, the Ninth Circuit covers the West Coast. Many cities have been changing their codes and after these decisions came out. And so we have 3 examples and I'll go through those now. First, City of Lakewood, they just adopted theirs a few months ago. And Lakewood looks at, the exception that they sort of crafted for their ordinance in their community was that camping at protected waters, which is defined in their code, is prohibited at all times with no exceptions, meaning that even if shelter space were unavailable, protected waters areas would be a place where camping would not be allowed. And certainly you can go to the ordinance to check out how they define protected waters, but to summarize, it's essentially critical areas, shoreline, riparian areas where they determine that the environmental impacts of folks using that space to camp was detrimental to wildlife and the environmental integrity of those areas, and that was the basis for them protecting those spots. They also have a separate section of their code that says that camping and storage of property is prohibited on all public property. However, that provision is only applicable if there is overnight shelter available. Enforcement is suspended when no shelter is available. They have a penalty provision that has increased penalties based on the number of prior offenses, and there are some mandatory jail times if there are second or subsequent offenses. Next slide. The City of Longview is another option or another ordinance that I included in the packet. Longview takes the approach of rather than a specific location, theirs is more based on time. They have designated that camping is not allowed at several different locations at all between 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 p.m. They include parks, publicly owned land and parking lots. And the practical effect is that very few areas are open for camping between those restricted hours. And like I said from the beginning of the slide, that the restrictions are, like I said, with Lakewood, it's a place-based, it's, protected waters. Longview is a time-based. And then next slide. City of Portland has a new ordinance, and it is kind of a hybrid. It does time restrictions from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., saying that camping is not allowed, is only allowed in non-restricted areas for involuntarily homeless people between 9 p.m. and 8 a.m. It also, similar to Lakewood, has several place restrictions that are always prohibited. The ordinance or the materials that I included in the packet lays out what Portland decided to use. Things like child care centers, right-of-ways in high crash areas, certain other spaces that they determined that was really incompatible all the time. And then they also had manner restrictions and indicated that certain, apparatuses with camping like gas heaters, as well as the way in which someone was situated, obstructing maybe private property, access to private property, was also prohibited. They had a phased-in approach. It looks a lot like how the legislature crafted the Blake fix, the original one, to drug possession enforcement in Washington, and that there's a requirement that there be 2 written warnings prior to any criminal enforcement. And like I said, this one is also relatively new. It's my understanding it's going to be implemented this month after being adopted previously with a period of public outreach in between. So next slide, please. But the other resource that I included in the packet is put together by the Association of Washington Cities and the Municipal Research Services Center, which have wealth of information on municipal operations. If you're ever interested in anything that's going on with the city, I certainly recommend those, or websites that you can search. They're free to use. You can look at all kinds of aspects of municipal operations. They created this toolkit, and you take a look at it in the packet. It's about 150, or it's about 54 pages long. It contains tools and resources that other like cities all over the state are using to address homelessness and affordable housing. And it's like real world examples. And it also has just condensed overviews of various topics. One of those is updating your camping ordinance. And I pulled a quote. It just says, in all cases, cities should evaluate their ordinances and enforcement practices to determine whether and what type of regulation is necessary. So the section on updating camping ordinances is found at page 8 of that packet, of that toolkit. And I also just wanted to highlight, Bremerton is actually featured in this publication. Not every city is featured. So I think it's highlighted the city that, go back. Sorry. I couldn't remember the page number. Bremerton has its own little section in the toolkit, and it states that the city is expanding their assistance to low-income residents, as well as helping chronically homeless facing addiction and mental health issues. And I'll get into what those are. But the Bremerton specific section is at page 45 of the toolkit. Next slide, please. All right, so these are the highlights that they had on the Bremerton section. One is talking about the city's weatherization and minor home repair program. That's something that is administered through community resources. There's also a reference to the rental assistance program, and then a big section has been devoted to the discussion of Pendleton Place, which is a partnership with Bremerton Housing Authority and Kids Mental Health. It's a 70-unit apartment building that was completed and occupied last year. So, next slide. But even though the toolkit only focused on those three, there are actually a lot of other things that are going on in the city. So I have put some of them here, and the rental assistance, like I said, that was covered in the toolkit, but it is a partnership with Bremerton Housing, and there's $800,000 available in that. There's also a partnership that wasn't mentioned in the toolkit. That's the down payment assistance. That's through community frameworks. Again, the weatherization and minor home repair was discussed, but the substandard housing displacement program that the council did pass in the budget wasn't discussed in the toolkit, and so that's on here as well. So next slide. Additional housing partnerships. There is the respite care facility that is a partnership with Peninsula Community Health in the former rescue mission site. There's the community resources, the Net Townhome project. There's the Mills Crossing complex, and then additional partnerships with Bremerton Housing Authority, the housing navigation program that was discussed several weeks ago, as well as Shadow Creek. Next slide. And other efforts. What we did pulling this together is that toolkit contains a table of contents, and it has a listing of various actions cities can take to help with affordable housing and homelessness in the communities. And we went through and looked at the things that had happened with Bremerton that kind of came up with these slides. It started here with some ordinances that are passed. These are certainly not as City Council. There's a density bonus. There were changes to our ADU code, which is also one of the methods that this resource recommends. There is also an established temporary encampment permit process that's found in our code. The Department of Community Development also has the infill development toolkit. There's been discussion tonight about the library. That's something that the city's also funding to upgrade the HVAC system. That's the reason for that closure. There's the Behavioral Health Navigator program in the Bremerton Police Department, and there was an increase in funding that is helping with garbage and waste removal in the downtown area. Additional just programs and partnerships that the city's supported. There's the affordable housing ordinance. Salvation Army did operate as a full-time shelter from March of 2020 through May of 2023. There's the mobile addiction and mental health primary care treatment clinic and the Stand By Me program through Peninsula Community Health Services. That's a partnership, as well as the real program that provides behavioral navigation services. So those are just an overview of, I know what we talked about last week, the Lakewood ordinance, and there were a bunch of whereases, and it listed out the that city were doing to address homelessness in that community. And I know that there was some response from several council members that was an important part of that ordinance. And so I wanted to provide this overview so that you could see what it might look like if you go to draft an ordinance for the city of Bremerton and the things that are already happening. And so next slide. What are the council's options? Repeal or amend. So it's the council goal to address this issue this year. I certainly support that goal. I think that's the right thing to do. It is legally sound to do so at this time. It's what all the other cities are doing too. The current code restricts all camping in all public places. It's incredibly restrictive. It's not being enforced, and I don't recommend that it stay part of our code. The council should pass an ordinance to either repeal that portion of the code or pass an ordinance amending the current code, considering shelter space availability. If the council chooses to amend the code, they're going to be the questions that are going to be before you, or which of the restrictions or limitations you want to place on camping in public places. Are there places that you want to make off limits? I've provided, like I said, the 3 ordinances. Those aren't the only 3. There's other cities that have done other things. It really becomes a local question as to what areas the council decide to make off limits all the time. There could also be a time-based restriction or prohibition of the way the camping is conducted, or as you saw before, in a combination of some of those. So that's all of my presentation. I know that our schedule here is that I talked to you all about it last week, and then today the public comment, and then next week it's back on a study session for discussion of what we hear from the public today.
Thank you so much, Attorney Fennell. As you mentioned, we're just here to take public comment. I want to thank everybody who's already written in and all the emails we received to date. But we're just here to listen tonight, take public comment, and as I said, we'll discuss next steps at our next study session. Point of order, Councilman Mark.
I think it might be useful to the public here assembled if we were to share the screen of Ordinance 783. Those who have not downloaded the entire packet would see at least one example of an ordinance.
I guess it's not a point of order, but this is discussion. I have the last slide shown. Yeah.
Page 120 of the packet.
I'm sorry, that's not a valid point of order, so let's proceed with the public hearing. Okay, so, yes, so all right, we're still here to take public comments, so please come up to the microphone, same as before, 3 minutes maximum, raise your hand on Zoom if you would like to be recognized. Please go ahead.
My name is Robert and husband.
I'm Stephen Ravy.
And we are business owners. We own a shop downtown on 6th and Park. Are very highly affected by everything that is going on in MLK Way in front of our store, to the point that we have had to make a really difficult decision, very emotional, to close our store. And we have been harassed countlessly by this population. We have had to call 911 22 times since October. It is very heartbreaking to see that what we worked so hard for is just going down the drain. And I'm not saying that we don't have empathy for people who are experiencing helplessness. Of course, it's how can you not? However, the people that are there now are having a lot of violence. These 911 calls have been due to violence is we have had 6 different instances where people have come into the store. This last one, I was there alone, and a homeless man came in and became very aggressive with me. Luckily, my husband was across the street at 7-Eleven. However, it's very scary because our 6-year-old is with us. We are a family-run business. He's there with us, so we are terrified of what could happen to our child. A few months ago, we had someone come and feces all over our store, resulting in us to close for the day and losing out on business. This was not just someone needing to utilize the bathroom. Feces was dug up from either a porta potty or one of the RVs, and it was splashed all over our store. We do not have the resources between my husband to properly sanitize the sidewalk, and this is why we had to close. The best we could do was close all of the human waste into the street, probably creating a bigger health issue. And so my question is, with every plan that's coming up of additional housing and shelters, the people who are acting violently towards our store are heavily on drugs, and I do not believe that they are going to qualify for housing or for shelter. So how are we addressing that problem? The drug issues is the big issue here. I'd also like to add that the other day someone was shooting up in front of our store and my husband told them not to, and their response was, "It is our right, mind your own business." People they don't care.
Thank you. So I just like to add a little in there, and I'm sure we all have families. So we're down there with our kid all the time, and I'm sure we were all much older than 6 when we found out what prostitution was. I'm sure we were older than 6 when we saw people openly using drugs. I'm sure when your parents maybe opened businesses to show you how to grow up and how you should hold yourself in public. This situation across the street has made it very difficult for us to project to him how he should grow up in that. And we would just like to be prioritized over people that are back there and feel like we also have a place in downtown Bremerton. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Ramesh Wilson, and I am simply here to say a message for you from someone who could not be here tonight.
My name is Cindy Stevens. I am a community organizer and a task force representing Washington State Physicians for Social Responsibility. Today, I'm morally bankrupt, but also already unconstitutional anti-camping ordinance effect the most vulnerable citizens of our town. I am appalled, disgusted, and more on those who need our help the most. Let me not be a solution. It will be a heartless attack on hard times, pushing them even further into and medical issues is the answer. This is not a choice. It is rooted in a multitude of societal problems, such as lack of affordability, and suffering of those who already endure unimaginable hardships. It is totally acceptable to turn a blind eye to the suffering of our fellow citizens. And our community members. Homelessness does not magically make it disappear. It shifts the problem from sight, sweeping it under the rug, and perpetuates the cycle of poverty and despair. Housing, mental health service, or to start a simple people can use the restroom in a law-abiding way. These are the true solutions that will uplift our community and save us more financially in the long run as well. I am urging this cruel and misguided idea and all citizens, not just those who are privileged and fortunate. Demand that this be repealed. It was deemed to be unconstitutional. We have to stop these distractions and start focusing on the real issues.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, please go ahead, Madam.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn. I do a Bremerton prayer walk in downtown Bremerton, and we've been doing it for the past 3.5 years. And one of the things that we have noticed is that there's a lot of individuals that have not only complex issues that Kimmy was saying, but there's also a lot of really great individuals. And I think when we look at this ordinance at all, and I appreciate the legal standpoint, but this is a very new ordinance. All of the cities currently that have had ordinances of these past, they're all having challenges at this point in time, so they're not even enforcing. So I would encourage this committee here, I would encourage the commission at this point in time to reinvest that money instead of looking at what kind of legal opportunities or finding some kind of loophole in these legal rules that have came down. I would encourage you to not try to solve homelessness by having more obstacles for the homeless to overcome. I'm an attorney. I was also homeless here for a while. And so I experienced the homeless, and it was out of no fault of my own. And there's so many other individuals that have that. We see with COVID coming that there's even more individuals. The chronic homelessness is not the biggest issue. We have more people coming out, becoming homeless. We have mothers with children. And so when you look at a daytime ban on enforcement, when it's assuming that everyone sleeps at night, when you can see that a lot of individuals don't sleep at night because they're worried about the security. So the daytime ban would prevent them from even sleeping at all. It would make it a bigger obstacle for women. It would make a bigger obstacle for individuals fleeing domestic violence. Where living on the street is more safe than living in a house that everyone's so concerned about these man-made temples and the problems that are occurring with them because of the fact that the property is more important than the people at this point in time when we're looking at these ordinances. I would encourage this committee here, when we look at the practical effects, we were listening to the city attorney talking about resources available. The problem is that these resources are being said that they're not available. I went through a 1.5 years in a shelter and there was no resources available. And I did everything that everyone told me to do, and I could not get any help at all. And so the resources, a lot of people say these resources are available, but they're just not available. And we're looking at the individuals who are on the streets that would be impacted significantly by these. We've got individuals who are not able to move. They're disabled. That's why, with the Salvation Army closing down, so many people who were once staying in this overnight shelter have no place to go at this point in time. They have no place to go. They have no one to turn to, and everyone is saying, do better. And it's hard to do better when there's nobody there. Thank you.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Joanna Hayes. This is my sister, Molly Brooks. As a concerned citizen and member of Kids That Erase, I am standing up for our unhoused neighbors. It is wonderful to hear the programs to create more affordable housing. That is so needed, but it cannot meet the needs of all of our neighbors. The situation in Bremerton right now is untenable, but focusing on and enforcing an anti-encampment law is not the way to fix that. Our unhoused neighbors have nowhere to go. We are vastly under-resourced in housing and shelter space, in mental health care, and in support of our neighbors currently using substances in a way that is harmful to themselves and our community. This anti-encampment law is not the solution. Shelter space is the solution. Supportive and compassionate medical care is the solution. Resources are the solution. I will also let it be known that there will always be people who feel more secure in their own space or cannot and will not stay in a shelter. There are numerous reasons for that. The legal area to camp could alleviate that problem. Our unhoused neighbors need help. Their safety, security, and compassion, as do all members of our community. But an anti-encampment law won't help anyone. It will criminalize people who need most help.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Molly Brooks. I'm a member of Kids Up Racist Housing and Homelessness Team. I'm against anti-camping ordinances. Unhoused neighbors have nowhere to go. They need services, and to get them, service providers need to be able to find them. It is inhumane to kick them out of where they are living. When camps are cleared out, people lose the few precious belongings that they have. This can result in people losing their only tent and therefore the roof over their head. Getting arrested for camping can give unhoused people a record, which can be detrimental for them later on when they apply for a job and other situations where they need a background check. We have plenty of public spaces we can make available for people to camp. We also need more shelter space and services for unhoused neighbors. No one should be penalized for camping, but anyone who wants to live inside should have somewhere to go. To hear that people downtown, especially at the Marvin Williams buildings, aren't feeling safe is upsetting, especially the children. Marvin Williams building is a treasure of our community, and kids should be able to play outside there. The anti-camping laws are not the answer. Services, shelters, and affordable housing are. Please do not criminalize homelessness.
Thank you. We'll go to this one right here.
Patricia Morris. I am in strong opposition to anti-camping ordinances. They're inhumane, ineffective, and counterproductive. Research has shown that this pushes this very vulnerable population into the margins even further, making it more difficult for them to find resources, more likely to end up on the street. I empathize with business owners and families who have people living on the street in front of their homes, but this is not the fault of the unhoused population. This is due to not having enough services, not having enough mental health services, substance abuse services, and affordable housing, which is a huge, huge problem in our society. And it's going to get worse. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Akuya Karen Vargas. I'm part of the Kids Up Race Coalition. We've worked diligently to look at this issue, and I think it's important that we come together as a city, as a community, our families, to really, really see we have to get to the root of these issues. We can easily push it off on this side of the community, on that side of the community. We can push it off on the homeless themselves. But until we are able to come together and diligently look at root causes, because we can nitpick it and we can be able to say this is what's needed here. But if we're not looking at root causes of how we're going to move forward to create these solutions for what's happening here in our community, and I understand it has, we've not, and I'll say it like this because I want to use my words very carefully. We have not experienced what we're experiencing now at this level ever in our history. And so we don't have all of the solutions, but we know we better address it. Some of these issues we could have done some intervention and prevention before it got to the level it is even now. But because we didn't address it then, now we have the issues laying before us that now we have to come up with some solutions as to how we would move forward together to address these issues. So as we do move together, yes, we have all of the resources here, but how well do we work together in a collective way, in a unified way to support with these services? Because the services are there. We've not come together as a community and had the difficult conversations that need to be had so we can come up with these solutions. Many hands make light work. And between us all as a community, as a county, I think we can come up with some pretty good solutions if we're working in a unified way to address some of the challenges that we are facing here. And if we don't get on top of it now, it is going to bite us in our behinds later. So we need to be able to come together and have these conversations so that we can say, you know what, we know this is an issue. And you know what, we're not going to put our families at risk, our children at risk, even our vulnerable population at risk. What we will do is come up with some applicable solutions on how we're going to move forward to deal with it. We can go back and forth here, month after month, year after year, but until we put hands to task, we're going to keep on having to deal with it.
Thank you. Let's do one more in the room and then we'll flip online. And then we'll keep going. Please go ahead.
Yeah. My name is Casey Kelly, we spoke earlier. Ethan and I, we coached T-ball together, our sons played T-ball together. And the fact that, I mean, I see everybody, we're all involved in the community, we all have children, we all want to, we all have compassion. But when I ask somebody to stop blowing fentanyl smoke in my direction, and they tell me to wait till I go to work so they could rape my daughter and kill my dog, I don't want to hold hands and sing Kumbaya after that. When my son asks me, are there cuckoo strangers out here barbecuing again? Because it smells like burnt rubber and plastic. The emboldened nature in which they treat our street like we are the ones inconveniencing them. They laugh at me. They threaten me. They catcall my daughter and my wife. They steal from my children. Not saying, I don't think those people want shelter. The entitlement to go to somebody's business and just spread feces everywhere, or to come down into my basement and try to break in to do drugs on my personal private property. We're not talking about where there's already tents or a park. We're talking about my home where I have my children. So we understand that everybody's on hard times, and everybody's coming up here talking about vulnerability. But who's more vulnerable than a child? I know there's no perfect solution here, but the crime element has to be, the element that it brings is, it's almost making this neighborhood unlivable. And I can't sell my house because I'm not going to make any money off of it. Nobody is going to want to live there. I don't want to live there anymore. And I love this town. My entire family is from here. I moved here to be with my family, and now my family is fleeing. And I just wish that we could do something about the crime. The crime is the big issue here. There's drug deals that happen in front of my house. There's assaults that happen in front of my house. I get out of my car and get hit in the head with a skateboard. I have no idea why. So vulnerable, sure. But my kids are vulnerable too. And this community is going to be vulnerable if we don't do something about this.
Thank you. Let's go online to Susan Brooks Young.
Thank you, members of council and Mayor Wheeler. I appreciate this opportunity to speak. I did send an email earlier today, so I'll keep my remarks very brief. In listening to the presentation that was made a little bit earlier, the one concern that came to mind for me out of listening to that is we are really good in Bremerton at saying there needs to be a solution and talking about it and even identifying a solution. The $10,000 for the portable toilet is an example. But saying that you've got a solution and then actually acting on it are two different things. And my concern is I don't want to see one more change or one more whatever be decided by council only to have nothing happen afterwards. If there's not the follow-up, if we don't do what we say is important and what needs to be done, then we're just kicking the can down the road again. And we know that moving the people around doesn't work. That's not a solution. But we do need to act. We do need to figure something out. It's critical for people who have these issues happening around their property. I live downtown, I know, but I also understand that a heck of a lot of people are homeless who are not doing those kinds of things, and we need to do something to help those people as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online? Yes, let's go to Marlon Cameron.
Good evening again, Council. I have a few comments and a few questions. Very appreciative of the gentleman who's a homeowner and the business owners that came to speak. My question is what is the plan to decrease the experiences of these families, the business owners, the homeowners, and the community center, and not shift the problem to new families, business owners, and new homeowners? I'm very frustrated by the language of camping. It makes it sound like it's somehow romantic. And while the state uses that and maybe the country, we don't have to do that. I would like to see us be novel in how we talk about this issue. These folks aren't camping, they're surviving. And they're not doing that very well. Has the city completed any analysis on where they are most likely to migrate? Does City Council know the negative impacts of moving people further from the lifeline resources that they count on? Is there a proposed timeline for enforcement? Winter is right around the corner. Not that the 90-degree heat is any better. What happens to those that come into a resource area for services and the bus service stops running? Or does it turn ML King into a proverbial sundown town for the unhoused? As inflation resources dry up, how do we keep more individuals from becoming unhoused? MLK never looked the way it looks now. How does finding or jailing those experiencing homelessness going to be impacted? Will they be fast-tracked into housing? Can you share out and be hyper-transparent about what is happening and the progress? Is there a coordinated effort to protect the unhoused from others who prey on them and others around them? Lastly, Kitsap Strong, the county and others, and G2 had a barbecue at Bay Vista a couple weeks ago, and a porta potty was made available just for that event. Just like the Blackberry Festival and other events where we wouldn't consider not having bathrooms for those patrons, it can be done. Many unhoused individuals have not recovered from COVID. Our children being out of the classroom for years is evidence of that, and we are seeing in stark, in living color, what happens to those most vulnerable in our community by the other side of COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online, and then we'll go back in person. Yes, Christy, let's do that.
Thank you. You've had many intelligent people talk, and I'm not going to repeat the points that they already have made. What I will say is that, and I have great compassion for the business owners and the community center, the impact on them of this. And I agree with Cameron, or Marwan Cameron, excuse me, that all you would be doing is scattering the problem to other parts of the city. It doesn't solve the problem. You outline certain areas where people can't be, and if you're including MLK Way, it's where all the services are that they depend on for the meager existence they have. That's not a solution. And they're already, since the shelter closed in May, they're already migrating out further from MLK. I, for the first time in 30 years of being in my home in downtown Bremerton, have folks camping in behind my house in the alley. I'm not saying that as like I want anybody to do anything about it. I don't, because I know they're there because there's nowhere else to go. But what I'm saying is I've never had folks in that part of town having to spread out that way. We don't have any shelter services. All the things outlined in the affordable housing plan that the city has, that was outlined in the presentation, there's no outcome data for any of those plans. And what I will say is there's a mile-long gap between people that could take advantage of any of those programs, because most of them are for people who are already housed, not the unhoused. There's nothing for the unhoused. There's a mile-long gap. And so that's don't put those in the whereases of your new ordinance, because don't congratulate yourself, because there's nothing there to resolve the issue of people having to be on public property and live on public property because there's nowhere else for them to go. Invest in shelters. Get a shelter to open here that actually is serving the people. Install public toilet facilities. I know that sounds like some of the feces was spread intentionally, but there's a lot of feces going on that is just the sheer fact that there's nowhere else for them to go and have dignity. We all have the human needs, biological needs that need to be met. It is cruel and inhumane to just make their situation worse. I love the city, and this is wrong-headed. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Let's go back in the room here.
This phenomenon of homelessness is a multifaceted problem. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? We have drug problems, very bad drug problems. We have people that live as criminals to feed their drug problems, and they are invading our community. The easier we make it for them to sustain themselves in that fashion, more will come. It'll get worse. We cannot help everybody in a very socially humane way and try to lift these people up. They are criminals. There are those that are homeless because of other reasons, and we all have empathy for them. We have social services programs. These people that we have on the street do not take advantage of shelter that we provide them, and we need to probably look at a better provision of shelter. Then we have to incarcerate them because they're antisocial. When you throw feces and crap in a store, that is totally antisocial behavior, and it's criminal. Destroying their property, destroying their livelihood, and threatening their families, their health. And if you have people that can't have their children out in their backyards, and they call the police several times, and the police say, well, our hands are tied. Why are their hands tied? Why don't we untie their hands and make sure that they can clean up this problem? We need to take strong measures. You ever hear of tough love? We need tough love. I empathize with people that have gotten into situations where they've alienated their families. They're no longer part of a community, of a family. Families do stick together and help each other most of the time, but these people are not, they've alienated themselves from their families. And now they're creating social problems in our community. We need to sit people camping in your front yard smoking stuff. And your kids are inhaling that crap. It's not good. We have to protect our people that are tax-paying, law-abiding citizens. And those that don't care about the rest of us need to be treated with tough love. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love whoever spoke about, let's get creative and come together and find solutions. Thank you. I've lived in downtown Bremerton on 8th and Mackenzie for over 20 years. One block from Casey, right across the street from Chris. And we have not had lately any more issues than we normally have had in the last 20 years. My husband and I moved downtown because we wanted to fight the NIMBYism that happens and the desire to escape to the suburbs to get away from what's happening here. We wanted to be a part of it to a certain extent and help with the solutions. I think it's very important not to divide. There are good behaviors of homeowners and business people, and there are also bad behaviors. There are good behaviors and bad behaviors of homeless people and people on the streets. And I've seen both. And those people who are living down there on MLK are both. We are both. We all need to come up with solutions. I also agree that the suggestion of the ordinance of working within a time zone for the camping is really a band-aid, because we see those people, the same folks, if you kick them off MLK, they're just gonna wander around my neighborhood creating havoc. And maybe they're creating havoc where they are, I don't know. But the issues, yes, are much, much deeper. And we do need a shelter. And it has, that camping street is the way it is because we lost the Salvation Army shelter. Yes, we still had a shelter problem even before that. But once that went away, boom, you got tents. Just look at it. So I also would love to offer, I would love to talk, I don't know if task force is the word, I don't know if that's already been done before, but if there could be a resident, business people, council, task force on these issues, maybe it's, they've been there, done that, that's it, that's fine, but I would love to be part of that if something happens. Erica Applewhite.
Thank you.
My name is Dawn Michelle Wilson. Good evening, council members. Good evening, Mayor. First, I want to apologize wholeheartedly to those business owners and to the homeowners that live around MLK. Because I know what happens down there, because I'm down there all the time doing outreach. I think I see 1, 2 other people in this room who are down there doing outreach. And I bring that up because what I can tell you is nobody ever says, hey, Dawn Michelle, come sit at this meeting with us and let's talk about what the answer is. Hey, Jocelyn, come sit at this meeting with us and talk. You guys are the ones out there doing the work. You guys know intricately what the problems are, maybe what the solutions are. I'm not going to tell you I have the answers to homelessness because I don't. I can tell you that I've been doing this for a really long time. I was the social services director at Salvation Army through COVID. I can tell you that the numbers of people that we housed, got into room sober housing, was phenomenal when we had that 24/7 hands-on, and that was with a team of untrained shelter workers. So can you imagine what we could do if we had some trained people helping these people? And call it hand-holding all you want, but when your neurotransmitters are not working correctly, it takes hand-holding. And I know this because I'm an addict in recovery. I just celebrated 18 years clean. And I was born and raised here in Bremerton. As a matter of fact, my father was a sergeant of the Bremerton Police Department. I was homeless here in Bremerton for 10 years, long shelters or any of these other things going on. Thank God long before fentanyl, which is a whole new demon. It's a whole new demon to fight and battle. I have Narcaned more people in the last 2 years than I ever thought I would ever Narcan in a lifetime. I mean, it's heartbreaking. Narcanning a 22-year-old young man for the 3rd time in a month, telling him, I'm not going to be the one that tells your mom you didn't make it. Does that mean that everybody down there wants me to save them? No. There are people down there with untreated mental health and untreated substance use disorder that are way above even my pay grade. And I have some letters behind my name. I have some letters behind my name, but they're above my pay grade. I do know that I come to these meetings and I listen to these things and we just never see a solution. When I heard there was going to be a porta potty, I was like, yes. And I'm like, how long ago was that? I also work for a company called Stephen Group International that provides security for Salvation Army and Kids Up Rescue Mission for $42 an hour. $42 an hour. They can provide security.
Evening, Council. My name is Dan Heron. I'm the president of Bremerton. I'm not an either or person. I'm a both and person. Okay? The crime problem is real. I feel badly for the business owners in the name. Let's address the crime issue, but don't solve it by pushing the homeless away. There's got to be a balance. Let's do both and. I came up with some rhetorical questions for you. You're probably doing a lot of these, maybe all of them, but I think they're valid questions. What is the current scope and scale of homelessness in Bremerton? What are the immediate needs of the homeless population? What are the underlying causes of homelessness in Bremerton? What are the barriers preventing homeless individuals from accessing existing services and support systems? Are there gaps in service provision or challenges related to coordination and outreach? How effective are our current homeless assistance programs and initiatives? What are the best practices and successful models from other cities and regions that we can learn from and potentially replicate? Are there policy changes or regulatory adjustments that need to be considered to address the root causes of homelessness? How can we better collaborate with local community organizations, nonprofits, faith-based institutions, and service providers to pool resources, share expertise, and maximize impact? What role can the City Council play in facilitating partnerships between the public and private sectors to address homelessness? Are there opportunities to engage businesses, developers, and philanthropic organizations? How can we engage and involve the homeless population themselves in decision-making processes? Are there mechanisms for meaningful participation and feedback to ensure their perspectives and needs are taken into account? What long-term strategies can be developed to prevent homelessness and create pathways to permanent housing and self-sufficiency? And finally, how can we raise public awareness, foster empathy, and dispel misconceptions about homelessness? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jessica Torres Riley. I'm a resident of Bremerton. I'm a patron at the shops in this area. I'm also a volunteer and attendee at events at the Martha and Williams Center. I just wanted to say that, we knew the Kids Up Rescue Mission was closing in 2019. We knew that the Salvation Army, which only became a shelter with 74 beds in 2020 because of the pandemic, was going to be closing May 1st. We need to be proactive in our approach to the issues of sheltering and having services for the homeless population. I also know that the City Council and the Mayor are currently working on the Bremerton 2044 plan. And I want to make sure that we're not just taking a reactive approach to the current issues we face, but we're taking a proactive approach to the future of Bremerton and how we want to handle this situation. As you said, 74 beds went away when Salvation Army closed. I know the Quality Inn on Subway is closing, and those residents are moving to the Pacific Building Shelter Project in Port Orchard. I'm not a resident of Port Orchard, I'm a resident of Bremerton, and so are the unhoused population here. And so we need to make the services available in Bremerton.
they're our neighbors, they're our residents of this town. And we need to be supporting them, not sending them to a shelter that's honestly not near much services in Port Orchard. I understand that the ordinance we have on the books is not constitutional, and that's why we're talking about it, right? It doesn't do anything because it can't be enforced because it's not in alignment with what those ordinances were intended. And so I would encourage us to repeal it because it's not doing anything for us. And I would encourage this body to put its focus in on the issues at hand. I'd love to see a similar presentation at the next meeting from people who are providing the resources in this area about what they would want to do and what they would want to see from us, and that we put in ordinances that support that and that make that possible. We heard from a lot of people, it's a multi-pronged approach. Homelessness is not a crime, but the crime that is around is a crime. And, I don't believe in necessarily criminalizing drug use. I believe in trying to support the people and the root causes of those issues. And I'd like to see the city invest and have a really solid plan for how we want to engage with that in the future. I just thank you for taking this up and taking public comment. And I want to make sure we don't make any quick, rash decisions here. We really take the time to have a prolonged, long-term approach for Bremerton.
Thank you.
Went over this toilet issue for, I think I've been coming to for 3 years now. We have the money set aside. That should have been a done deal a long time ago. And I understand it wasn't council's move to write the check, but you did provide the funding. I too would like to see all the service providers that we give money to and the county gives money to give them 3 minutes at the mic and have them line up and tell us what services they are directly providing to the homeless. And it seems like there's a lot of nonprofits around that have made a name for themselves, but I haven't seen a lot of what they've produced. So we need to be giving our money to the folks that are actually getting things done and ask the other ones why they keep applying for and getting grants from the city, the county, and the state. And I'll come in here and tell us what they're actually doing with the money, because meanwhile, we got people suffering on the street.
Thank you. Anyone else, someone with their hand raised? Yes, it's got Robin O'Grady online.
Good evening, everyone, council members and Mayor Wheeler. This is Robin O'Grady. I'm the executive director of the Kitsap Rescue Mission, and we are located at the Quality Inn in Bremerton. And I just wanted to clarify, first of all, we are not closing. We transitioned from 29 shelter beds when we were located down on 6th Street in Bremerton to 80 beds at the Kitsap Pavilion during COVID, as requested by the community and Kitsap County, to help really the folks that were on the street stay well. And since that time, when the county needed their building back, we moved to the Quality Inn. And when the Salvation Army closed, we increased our capacity from 80 beds to 105 beds for that reason. I agree with so much of what many people have shared. I think it's really important that we do get down to the root causes of homelessness. The 105 folks that we have in shelter, and by the way, we have 19 children and 13 families in shelter along with our individuals. They're receiving comprehensive services, including integrated mental health services and substance use disorder services as well. We have a full-time licensed mental health counselor and a full-time substance use counselor on our staff integrated onto our team. We've seen tremendous success with people getting into treatment, getting mental health therapy. We have some employment development opportunities for our folks. We're working with Skookum, Kitsap WorkSource, and some other organizations. I will say that the largest challenge that we've had is not sheltering folks, it is moving them on to permanent housing. Many of our folks are low income. We're seeing a lot of senior citizens who are on a very limited income, And with fair market rent in Bremerton right now for a studio apartment at $11.50 a month, there's no chance for them to be able to move forward. So that's been really, really some of our biggest challenges. I know there are two teams, the Heart team and the Real team, that are out there going to the encampments, working with the people to help them get into shelter. And all shelter referrals come from the Housing Solution Center, and we work hand in hand with the Housing Solution Center to get people into shelter whenever we have availability. But I just wanted to speak up on behalf of the Rescue Mission and let you know we are busy, we are full, we are providing really comprehensive services for the folks. And I do believe more shelter is needed. We will be transitioning up to the Pacific building probably within the next year, depending on when that building is ready. And so, you know, more shelter beds are needed definitely in Bremerton and Kitsap County wide. Thank you.
Thank you. Back in the room here.
I'm Mike Simpson. I'm a longtime resident of Bremerton. I was born and raised here, and this is probably the worst we've seen. It's appalling. But, Council President, looking to the government to provide the solutions is the wrong direction. It's the community that provides the solution. You just get to act on it. And that's the question that we have here. Now, there are plenty of solutions that are out there, but many that we're never going to try because we know that we cannot do those things. What we can't do is we can't continue to enable the behavior that is happening. We understand that there are people who are experiencing homelessness, but when they commit crimes, we should incarcerate them, period. And this is what we're hearing from the community tonight. We're hearing that. And we're hearing that we're not an uncompassionate community. We're a very compassionate community. We have many people in the audience tonight who are from various groups who are very passionate about this subject. That's why we're all here. I mean, this is probably the biggest crowd that I've seen in all the city council meetings that I've been to. And looking for you to create the solutions tonight is an unrealistic goal. It's incumbent upon us. And that's why I challenge everyone in the room tonight. If you are truly passionate about helping homelessness here in the city, go and find one of these people. Bring them to your home. Take them in for yourself. House them in your house and help fix the problem.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Double check online. All right, oh yes, please come up.
I wasn't aiming to speak today. My name's Kelly. I'm a nurse at one of the local hospitals here. Grew up here. I was also a homeless youth from age 13 to 15. It was safer on the streets than it was in my abusive household. I had some really good outreach, some grassroots effort, and pulled me off the street and mentored me. And so now I work with vulnerable populations. I'm down the streets myself every weekend. I even bring my kids along with me to show them everybody's one circumstance away from homelessness. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how you were raised, addiction as well. It hits every single population. Let's build Bremerton better. Let's connect kids up. We need to work together. We're only as good as our foundation, right? So if we can get everybody kind of on the same page, working smarter, not harder, I think that we can make a difference. MLK definitely has seen an increase in the last month since Salvation Army closed their services. Also, the bus routes are down on the weekends. I go down with a group of people from church and we feed people on Sundays. We give them sack lunches because many of those people don't have food over the weekends. So that does increase the crime. Local business owners, they're looking for food. They're looking for resources to get that food. Yes, there's a drug problem. That's not just right there on MLK. It's not exclusive to that. It's countywide, it's countrywide, it's worldwide. If we can get the services to help that along, that would be great. I know myself, discharging patients from the hospital, a lot of the times they have nowhere to go. So we dump them on the streets. And that's not unique to Kitsap County either. So how do we handle that, right? These people that are just going to continually be homeless due to disability or medical issues. What do we do with that? Last weekend, I was on the street, student outreach, and there was a 17-year-old girl. She just spent her first night on the street. She had a job, and she just graduated. Her parents kicked her out. Her concern was, how do I go and get to my job if there's no shelter available? And I don't know, I haven't seen her since, so I don't know what the solution is to that. I do see an increase in prostitution. I do see an increase in pimps. I do not see an increase in police patrols or outreach with the mental health navigators. I've yet to see them. I'm down there picking up trash along the streets. I average about 6 to 7 garbage bags for a couple of hours down there doing outreach, and I throw it away at my house. You know, I don't know what, you know, when it's going to affect any of you guys, but I hope, you know, none of you guys or your children end up homeless. So,
Thank you. Council, Mayor, my name is Neil Foley. I'm a resident of Bremerton. The current code is non-constitutional. Let's get rid of it. Let's start talking about homelessness. Let's start talking about mental illness, and let's start supporting the people that know what they're talking about and have lived this, are educated about this, and that are in this community helping right now. The answers are here. This is a really tough problem, and it's not going away. We could shove it somewhere else or we can attack it. And I say, let's attack it. Let's get rid of this one. Let's write a new one that deals with homelessness, mental health, and let's get on down the road. And I only have one further question. If we're putting porta potties outside of the library down here, and I don't know what the circumstance is, why aren't we just opening the bathrooms up again and cleaning those out a couple of times a day and just letting them use the bathrooms that are there, that they have been using? Unless there's something I don't know. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else who hasn't spoken yet would like to?
Joe Walter in West Bremerton. I have got no genius solutions. I'm trying to understand. It's unconstitutional, so we have to get rid of the camping rules. I'm going to toss out some things. Can we not change the existing language? I think the camping rules are initially in place with a thought about recreational camping. That must be what it was written for initially. And now we're dealing with homeless people using a rule that has to do with recreational camping, and that's not what they're doing. So maybe if we reworded it so that if it's survival camping, it's something along those lines, so that we're not, okay, so it's more direct, and maybe that kind of camping becomes permitted. And if you have to go forward and move people during the course of the day, let camping only happen during sleeping hours, a huge problem that obviously is going to happen, and that happens to unhoused people over and over, is the loss of their personal possessions. So they have to lug their camping gear around with them all day. Is this a wild idea to imagine that we could somehow provide a place for their stuff to be secure during the hours when they may not be camping?
Thank you.
Super. I just want to say that I feel for the folks that have the businesses downtown here. I just got notice that
one of my tenants is gonna be, moving because of the damage, broken windows, poop on the ground, the whole thing, right? And so, and I can understand why they're moving out. In fact, they're moving out of the city and moving, out to Macon County. Anyway, I heard Kids Out Rescue Mission, when she was speaking, that she sounded like, they had a lot of really good solutions, not just housing, but they also had the resources available to help people out that really do need the help, because that's kind of what, that's the real crux of it. We want to help these folks out. Everybody doesn't want to see this going on. The last thing I want to address is that I would like to see the police department allowed to actually put criminals into jail. It's not so much we don't want the solution to be taken care of. I mean, we want people to be taken care of, but if there's going to be those that are going to be bad citizens, then that bad citizen should be rewarded with a consequence of their actions, right? And that's what it comes down to. We really want them to understand. I grew up with consequences, right? And with those consequences, I avoided the bad citizenship. So thank you.
Thank you. Second, no one else on that, right? Yep.
Members of the council, and neighbors. My name is Eric Nebo, and I am a resident of 800 block of Martin Luther King. I see this. I've seen it over the last 4 years, from when kids could play on the streets. Now nobody plays on the streets. I've seen the camps come and go, and I've seen them cleared out 2 or 3 times a year over the past 4 to 5 years. They always come back. We solve it temporarily, and then we let it go right back. When we're sitting up front here, what she said times 2. I heard a lot of word salad tonight. You hit all the phrases. You said all the things that people want to hear. But just as what they pointed out with the porta potties, nothing's been done. Now, I walk down Martin Luther King every morning. I see the rats. They don't sleep in the day, they don't sleep in the night. They're there all the time. There's a nice owl that goes after the rats. Just like the homeless population there's people that are preying on them because they're easy, convenient access on Martin Luther King. We need a shelter. We've sat on our thumbs for the last 3 or 4 years, knowing we needed a shelter. Some solutions have been done. Maybe we need to concentrate all these grants and all these little monies, buy a couple acres and put up a huge barn to put people. It doesn't matter. We have to do a shelter. We have to give options. What we have now is inadequate, and will continue to be inadequate. And the best way to describe what's going on Martin Luther King is going back to the Great Depression. It's a Hooverville. Those folks don't have an option. Crime goes with them. We don't have an Al Capone to have a soup kitchen down there to make good publicity for himself. What we have is people trying their best, but it's not enough. I don't have a solution. I think that when we clear out an issue, we need to keep it cleared out. That means that if we solve Martin Luther King, the minute the first 10 goes up, we have the folks that are out there right on top of that person. We get them, we help them right off before we wait till 60 cents. You guys just voted $2 million plus for expenses. What if you had to save that up to the December meeting and vote for it all at once? That would be really painful to hear it all at once. If you do a little bit at a time, it doesn't seem so bad. It's how you eat an elephant. You start one bite at a time and get as much as you can. Now, again, I want to see those folks have a safe place. We don't have a safe place. The solution is not Martin Luther King. The solution is not letting that happen. We've got shelters though, but they built that. You can't get to the fire hydrant of that entire block because it's surrounded by derelict vehicles, pallets, and junk. What if those fireworks the other night had ignited the camp? We're not helping them, we're hurting them.
Thank you.
My name is Karma Foley, and I'm a retired human service worker. And so it's been interesting listening to all the comments. I really like the one lady that got up here and said, you know, everybody care about the people that are down there. We care about the business owners. But I think you can't solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is. And simply calling it homelessness with the wide swath across each and every individual that got there a different way. So in order to help those people, it does mean helping each individual person with whatever their issues are that created that problem. I can tell you, as a family member who just lost someone who was living down there, I'm heartbroken. You cannot love them enough to save them. You can't plead enough to make them stop. This is bigger than most of us could even imagine. But I implore you, there's lots of money going to different agencies, to the state, in recording fees. I mean, all sorts of money is being thrown at this. But we don't have room for shelters for people. What people need is hope. I mean, this human condition that they're living in is deplorable. No one's going to get better that way. I mean, can you for a minute? I can't imagine how well I would do on the streets. I just ask all of us to really get those shelters up and running. Being in a shelter somewhere is better than being in a tent on the street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rivera, I promise not to cry this time. I just wanted to bring up the issue again of the obscene amount of drugs that are being used down there. We heard from someone who works at the Salvation Army recently that there were 4 ODs last month alone. So if we're talking about getting down to the root of the problem, what are we doing to keep the drugs out of Bremerton? How are we addressing that? We need to find out where the drugs are coming from and why they are taking over this population. Like I said, we have empathy and we don't want to see people on the streets, but because of their substance abuse, it is leading them to cause criminal acts with homeowners, with business owners, with pedestrians, getting harassed, just trying to come in and shop or just into the 7-Eleven. The family that runs the 7-Eleven is so extremely kind, and the amount that they have to deal with on a daily basis, I can't even imagine even having a store across the street from that. So I urge us to figure out more of where the drugs are coming from versus also, of course, houseless or homeless problems and just trying to find shelters. But again, these people will not qualify for a shelter if they are not sober. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, Michael Simons. I'm a resident of Bremerton. I just want to kind of refocus everybody here. We're talking about homelessness, houselessness, drug use, criminality, et cetera, et cetera. The question here today is, we have an ordinance that's unconstitutional, and we have two options: amend it and hope it slides through, or get rid of it and create something new. And I think what we need to do is we need to create something new, get rid of the whole thing and start over. Because we're not going to fix homelessness today. But we are going to fix the fact that we have a law that the Constitution does not support. So we need to focus on that. Following that, when we do focus on homelessness and drug use and all of this other stuff, I think we also need to focus on not just shelter solutions. One of the biggest issues when you create those shelter solutions and not permanent houses or halfway houses or things like that is you focus the density of the unhoused population into specific areas, which cause economic depressions. When you spread that out through multiple neighborhoods and multiple distances, that ends up causing the community to be able to help a greater amount of people. Whereas when you create a density, it creates a community of avoidance. And I want you guys to make sure that when we look at solving these issues, that is one of the things that we're looking at. So we don't end up with places like MLK where all the house values go down, or even Pendleton Place where people are saying, I don't want to live in this neighborhood behind Winco because it's too close to that. When we create these large bed solutions, it creates problems for the neighborhood. And I think we could solve that by doing like ADU support, where we're helping people get ADUs built so that they can help a person who's gone through a treatment program and they need a long-term solution. Let's get them into a single room house instead of putting them in a 70-unit bed. I think that's what we need to look at, and I think that'll help us move forward.
Oh, wait. No, I'm so sorry. It's once per person. I'm so sorry. Once per person.
Really?
Yes. Yes, to keep it
All
fair
the
for everybody.
conversation is stimulated some thought here. I wanted to share it with
Once
you.
per person in the public law, but yeah, send an email anytime to City.Council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my closing and parting
Okay,
thought
thank you.
is,
Anyone else online? Yep. Dave, anybody else online? All right. Going once, going twice. All right, we'll close public comment with a big thank you to all for everyone for speaking up today, and we'll continue this discussion in study session next week. Thank you all so much. Again, thanks again to everyone who's emailed as well. With that, we'll move on to the next session of council reports. Council reports are an opportunity for council members to provide an update on any issues or events taking place in the district, announce any events they've attended or plan to attend, or speak on any other city-related topic. Since this is the first council meeting of the month, we'll start with Council Vice President Jennifer Chamberlain for District 1.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Goodbye. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. I know you've been here a long night. Some of y'all aren't used to being in a meeting this long. For volunteering to come and speak on an issue, I should say that specifically. Meetings happen all the time. But I'm really impressed with the turnout. I did say a few meetings ago I'd like to see a huge turnout to talk about these issues, and it's beautiful to see everybody here. Thank you. So I'm just gonna turn it over. I got a couple pictures. See, oh, I don't know if you can see it clearly. I got this great new water bottle, and I got it out at this table over here. So for those of y'all who are here, you can take a look at the, well, the water bottles are gone, but the plan to take public input is still there. So if you want to see our water plan coming up for next year and have input on that, please take a look at the table out there. I did just a little kayaking trip, actually the longest I ever did, out to Brownsville and back, and I just came to appreciate our waterways just so much more intensely. And wanted to throw a shout out to our wastewater folks that do, give us clean water. We have award-winning water here in Bremerton, apparently. And super appreciative of those folks too. But just like it was before July 4th, and I was glad that I was able to go beforehand because it was before a lot of the pollution from the 4th came about. You can go to the next picture. I think it's just another picture of the water bottle. Here it is. Okay, so I got caught in a current. I couldn't make it home. I was after the Warren Avenue, the Manette Bridge, looking at the Warren Avenue Bridge, heading home to put in at Lent Landing right drive my home. And I was stuck there for an hour and I was just looking out at home like I'm almost there. But I just, I live near, probably one of the most beautiful parks in the county, state, I don't know. Lions Park is pretty great, but I could see it. I don't know if I'm almost there, but, I had a chance to go down and take a couple of pictures of the fireworks yesterday. I want to show those to you, which are the next couple slides. Look, see, on the sidewalk there, we have just these families having a wonderful time, lighting fireworks. And it was just really nice to see the families that are out coming together, and lots of picnics and there was the next slide. There's another slide here. And look at them. And I have the same red wagon I used for markets, by the way, but it was so wonderful to see all these people out here enjoying our public spaces. And it was just a beautiful evening, afternoon, nice weather. So I had a chance to go back this morning. And I think that's the next couple of slides. What? So, what are you talking about?
Members that finally remember this.
So I went back this morning. I thought I was going to jumpstart on helping out cleaning the park, but look at these silent angels. And I bet Director Lovato knows who these folks are. They come out every day cleaning up the parks, and they were up early gathering the waste. And I came with my little red wagon and a broom and a rake. But then I went down a little further to see where I could help out more. And I never really got a chance to get these folks pictures and talk to them. They were in, they were out, they were darting all around cleaning up. I couldn't even really connect with them because they were they do it every day. And then I have another slide here. Look at these heroes. We have Junior on the left, Mike on the right. Look at all that. That wasn't even like as full as it had got. That was from one side of the park. And super appreciative of these, and they had the best attitude about it too. They're just like, here we go, and there's a lot of garbage. And when I was out there picking up garbage, there's all kinds of weird garbage too. It's not just fireworks, y'all. It's like food garbage and all kinds of other, I don't know. There's some things that passed by I didn't pick up, by the way. And do I have any other pictures? That might be it. Is that it? Okay. Thank you to our parks crew and public works crew for going out there and cleaning up our city properties, our public spaces, and keeping our city beautiful. I just wish people would do like I do, pack it in, pack it out, leave it better than how you found it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is District 2, Councilmember Denise Fry.
Thank you. I've got some slides. I actually put out a fire across my street with fireworks. Somebody actually threw it out of the car on the street, exploded, and a spark went over to a field and caught on fire. And I thought, I'm living what my constituents have been telling me about this. Anyway, happier times. Mayor, you've got competition because, Max is out there, little Max is out there charming everybody. But we were able to go to the Chamber of Commerce luncheon and take Lori Smith. And Lori Smith is a long-time staffer in the City.Council office. She doesn't get out much, and so she was able to come to the chamber. You hear all about the Chamber of Commerce. When we're talking about small businesses, that's their representative. So that was a fun day. But moving on to maybe more serious topics. We had a ribbon cutting at Mills Crossing, and for those of you who aren't familiar with Mills Crossing, 36 units, beautiful townhomes over in East Bremerton, right abutting District 2 or District 1. And if we could click that, I think we've got a really short little video. The link embedded in there. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dave. I really understand the continuum of need. And I understand that Mills Crossing and other projects like it aren't going to meet the needs of the folks at MLK. But it is one thing that we can do. And these townhomes, there we go. to it, Dave. No worries. So when we hear about nonprofits who are given a lot of money and don't do anything with it, it kind of triggers me. So I think that KCR has done a fabulous job with this project. We're looking at more in the net. Thank you, Mayor, and the administration for supporting all that. And it's the other end of the continuum that we really need to provide some stopgap measures to. And final slide.
No, maybe it's me. I'm very picky. I'm so hard to date. I have such a specific.
Anyway, together, ending homelessness together, right? And getting together and figuring it all out. So I really appreciate everyone's comments tonight. I think it was the most varied, I think, meeting that we've had. And I congratulate you all for coming out, showing up. We do listen, we pay attention. You know, I might even swing my boat the other way. I don't, who knows? We have to learn and live and do the best that we can. Together, folks. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Next up, we have District 5, Councilmember Michael Goodnow.
All right. Yeah, I also want to thank everybody who have left, but I was really happy that even though there were some differing opinions, everybody was, I think, really open and civil, and it's tough. It's a tough issue to solve. So, just a couple of quick announcements. Saturday the 15th at 9 a.m. is the normal Forest Ridge Park cleanup. I haven't seen an announcement about it, but I think it still happens. Folks, I'm getting a nod. So folks meet at the kind of by the, I guess, the south entrance by where the small playground and court is. And then on the 19th at 6 p.m., I'm sorry, the 18th at 6 p.m. Is the Charleston District, the Callow kind of Business Association group meeting, and they've been getting a lot of traction there. And it is going to be at the Unique Experience, the embroidery shop down on Callow. So there's a lot of exciting stuff happening on Callow. Again, thanks to everybody's input, and hopefully we can move forward in the right direction. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have District 6, Councilmember Lockwood.
Thanks. Let's not start the slides just yet. Since yesterday was the 4th, I'm gonna have a little celebration of the 4th.
When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bonds which have connected them to another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate but equal status to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they show the causes which impel them to this separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people are created equal, that they are equally endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay. Yeah. So I'm particularly happy about the 4th because this was, in my neighborhood, the quietest 4th I've ever experienced. Usually I stay home because shards of mortars and rockets are rattling down on my metal roof. But
it was delightfully quiet. And I was discussing this with my next door neighbor with whom I don't agree often. So we talk about roses and dogs the way you do with neighbors. And her theory was that the 4th had been so very quiet because of the battery of decisions handed down by the Supreme Court of the United States at the end of the week, and that everybody was just sad. So, because I think about representative government a lot, it made me think about representative government. I was really happy to see so many people here expressing different views, doing it all in civil discourse. That was pretty freaking thrilling. The more people come and speak, the better we can represent you. I was just really happy about it. And I'm not going to take up too much time because it's like 8 o'clock. And so because I think representative government is interesting and important, I hold these monthly town halls. Slide, please. Over at, there you go. Okay. Well, okay, that's a good slide. The next one is on July 10th, and it's just, here's how the city works. Here's how to make your voice heard. And then anything else that I can do to be of use. One thing I did want to add about the homeless people at the library. Shoot, sorry, I forgot to start my timer. I've got a minute and a half, yeah?
1 minute, 55 seconds.
Okay. Is that Lisa Lechuga of the library mentioned that a lot of the people are older and that they are using the computers to connect with services. That marries to what was just found in LA, where they have 75,000 homeless people, is that the vast majority of them were older people who had just gotten squeezed out. I am hopeful that we can provide not only a toilet and washstands, which sounds great, but also Wi-Fi connectivity, some way for people to keep being able to find out about services. That's about it. I hope if you are in District 6 that you will come to my town hall. If you are not in District 6, I hope that you will come to my town hall. Thank you, and have a safe one.
Thank you. Next up, we have District 7, Councilmember Eric Younger.
Okay, so I will, my report will start with a heavy note, go to a lighter note. Not real heavy, but having to do with the discussion tonight. I found it fascinating. I was looking forward to tonight. I did public outreach. I was glad that Kitsap Sun put the article in the newspaper. I think that was a large part of the reason why we had the coverage tonight. I was glad to see that. It's fascinating. I've heard from many people in the audience and online before. I'm just fascinated when I heard opposing perspectives, and I still saw them clap for that. I don't know if you noticed that. It's like, my brain was like going, what's happening here? And it made it even more muddy as far as what do you want the council to do. It was just fascinating. I'm just kind of soaked all that in. So, again, thank you. We still have quite a few people here. You gave me a lot to think about. And we didn't make the issue more easy for me, though. Didn't. So, okay, the other thing. So, for 4th of July, I spent it in Pullman, Washington. That's where my son is. So took Monday off and went out there to see him. And so I didn't hear all the fireworks. I don't know if we stayed in Moscow. And I heard some, whatever, but not anything like what I usually hear in my neighborhood. I'm throwing a point. Usually I'm sitting on the deck and watching it all go off and just enjoying everybody else spending all their money on fireworks. And that's always been a divided issue in this town, right? It's about half want, half don't. In my household, we're a divided household as well.
If I count my son, it's 2 people want them. No, 2 people don't want them. My wife wants something. I could do without them. I've seen enough fireworks in my life. But that's neither here nor there. The point I'm bringing this up is I do read all the emails that come in, whether I agree with them or not. One email I found fascinating we received about a couple of weeks ago, and it was about how about laser light shows? Have you guys thought about that? I don't know if you guys saw that and going, hey, what the heck is going on with that? I'm not proposing banning fireworks. Don't worry about that. But can we think about laser light shows and about the possibility of that? That's a non-polluting thing. I see people shaking their head, oh, that irks a nut case. I don't know, but whatever. So anyway, that's kind of fascinating. And then I did a quick Google search, and there are laser light shows on a large scale, and time with music and all that stuff. So anyway, that's something I'd like to explore. And then on the super light note, Councilmember Chamberlain, do you know about tide charts?
I've heard of them.
Okay.
Is there an app for that?
So when we go kayaking, maybe we're a little more experienced, but we look at the tide charts, and when you go through the narrows, you want it so the tide is going in, and because I'm sorry, those narrows you can't beat it. If you go the opposite way, you're gonna sit there. I don't care how good a kayaker you are, you're gonna sit there for it. So anyway, that's on the line. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now I'm up last for District 3. Similarly, we'll go from heavy to more lighthearted. Got a couple of slides, and first one's just a picture I took the other day of MLK. So I'll be talking about it tonight. You know, the ordinance applies citywide. This is obviously a citywide issue, but I know this comes up quite often. It's in my district. So I think it's one of the kind of, at least currently biggest and most talked about places. And I walk, by it nearly every day for about 10 years. Yeah, it's rough. It's gotten more crowded, especially in the past, I'd say 2 months. I think as someone mentioned, it's I think always been an issue area. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for speaking up tonight, and those who stuck around and still listen to me wrap up here. I just want to recognize this isn't easy. It's not an easy issue. It is incredibly complex. And so I think everybody who's in the room tonight, I know everybody up here and administration has compassion and empathy, just wants to find the best path forward. And all I can think is when I look at this picture is this isn't it. This isn't a solution, that helps anybody. I think as we saw tonight, updating this ordinance, if we do, it's just a small piece of a comprehensive effort that's being undertaken by the city. And I just hope when we talk about this ordinance, we take into account the needs of the people experiencing homelessness, the needs as we heard tonight from community members and local businesses, environmental ADA and other concerns. And I know it's something we as council need to work closely with the administration on. Council can do ordinances and budget and policy, but mayor and their staff execute. And so I know Mayor Wheeler has been listening all night, and so all the comments and questions I know we've got them written down. So hope the next study session we can talk through some of those. And I just want to close out on this issue by kind of reminding folks that Bremerton and Kitsap, Bremerton is the poorest per capita city. We're the poorest out of all the incorporated cities in Kitsap. And by the county's point in time report, about 60% of unsheltered individuals in the county reside in Bremerton. And so we are often asked to do the lion's share of the county and the state's work with, in fact, the least amount of resources. So I just want to encourage everybody to reach out to your county representatives, your state, and your federal representatives on this issue, because it's not just Bremerton, it's everyone. I know we can't do it alone, but I'm hopeful we can do our part in making things better for everybody. With that said, we'll move on to more lighthearted activities going on. So big kudos to the Parks Department for hosting this fun in the playgrounds each year. I got to read some books to kids last year and taking my son along too. Got Blueberry Park, Warren Avenue, Kiwanis, and the Net Park. Almost every day of the week there's something to go out and do. Such a great partnership with the school district as well. So really great summer activity. Thanks so much to the Parks Department for putting this on. Next slide. And then I want to remind, happens every month. This coming month will be a big one. Is Bremerton Green Drinks. It's again, a really great gathering of not only local businesses but nonprofits, organizations, just a lot of great folks in the community wanting to make a difference. So I'll be at this one and encourage folks to go. As a benefit, it's on the roof of the credit union district, so you get a nice view and likely great weather. But it's a really great opportunity to network and brainstorm solutions with people. And finally, last slide is to save your calendars. Bremerton's coming July 29th. Oh, I had it set so that the Minette Bridge is right in between the two identical pictures, but just imagine the bridge is there. But yeah, I'm so grateful. This is still happening. I know Josh Farley, although he doesn't work for the Kids Up Center anymore, is helping organize. Great to have him around. And I think it's timely. We'll be talking about the Minette Bridge. I'm sorry, the Warren Bridge improvements coming up. So great opportunity to take a walk around Bridge to Bridge Loop and lay eyes on everything. And with that, again, just thanks to everybody who write in, speaking up. It's I think we all really love to see the public engagement. It helps us make better decisions, and we can't do it without the community. Thank you all. And with that, council will now convene for an executive session for 15 minutes to discuss potential impending litigation as allowed by RTW 42.30.110, section 1, subsection I, and action is anticipated. So we will see you all in 15 minutes.